You can feel it sometimes, the quiet wish to stay a little longer, to see one more sunrise, to laugh one more time with someone you love. But longevity isn't about escaping death. It's about learning how to truly live with energy, clarity, and calm for as long as life allows. And despite what the world sells you, miracle diets, superfoods, anti-aging pills, the truth of a longer life is much simpler, much quieter. It's already happening inside you. Every breath, every heartbeat, every small decision, building or breaking the years ahead. We often think of longevity as something far away, the privilege of genetics or the reward of wealth and technology. But the real science of living longer begins in the small, unseen details of ordinary days. It's in how you wake, how you eat, how you move, and what you think about when you're alone. The body is not a machine that simply wears down. It's a living garden. Every cell listens to the food you eat, the air you breathe, the thoughts you repeat. Some of those choices water the roots of life, others quietly dry them out. And over time, these invisible choices shape the visible story of your years. For decades, scientists have searched for the secret of long life. They've studied genes, diets, communities, and rituals across the world. From the mountains of Okinawa to the hills of Sardinia, from laboratories decoding telomeres to doctors measuring inflammation, every clue points to the same truth. Longevity is not one big breakthrough. It's a harmony, a pattern between body, mind, and environment. Think of your life as an orchestra. Nutrition is one instrument, movement another, sleep another. Stress, mindset, relationships, each plays a note. When they're in tune, the melody is long, stable, and beautiful. When one goes out of rhythm, the body begins to fade, slowly, silently, like a song losing its key. This guide isn't about perfect discipline or biohacking. It's about rediscovering how the body naturally wants to live, how balance feels, how energy flows when nothing's forced. How longevity is less about adding years and more about adding life to the years you already have. So, before we begin, imagine this. Your body is listening. It remembers every kindness you give it, every night of real sleep, every deep breath, every quiet walk, every meal eaten with attention. Over time, these simple things build a language of health. A language your body understands better than any medicine. To understand this journey, we won't chase longevity like a trophy. We'll walk toward it gently, layer by layer, through the science of your biology and the poetry of being alive. Because living longer isn't about outsmarting nature. It's about learning to live in rhythm with it. And that rhythm, quiet, patient, and ancient, is waiting to be heard. If you could listen closely enough, you would hear it. The faint ticking inside every cell, a rhythm that never pauses. This hidden clock began long before you took your first breath. It learned the pace of your mother's heartbeat, the warmth of daylight, the chemistry of nourishment. From that moment on, it began to count, not seconds or minutes, but balance and imbalance, renewal and decay. You may think aging is written only on the skin or measured by candles on a cake, but your body keeps its own record. Deep within, a network of tiny molecular switches, the epigenetic marks, turn genes on and off like dimmer lights. They change with what you eat, how you move, what you fear, and how you rest. Over years, these marks become the diary of your life. Every night of lost sleep, every moment of laughter, every stressful season, every calm morning walk. When scientists measure biological age, they're reading this diary. Two people can be 40 on paper, yet one cells may whisper 50, the other 35. Time is elastic. It stretches or tightens depending on how kindly you live. Every system in you follows rhythm. Your heart pulses in repeating waves, your breath expands and contracts, hormones rise and fall like tides. Even your gut bacteria follow the light, thriving when you eat during daylight, resting when darkness arrives. When these rhythms align, the body hums with quiet order. When they clash, through irregular meals, sleepless nights, artificial light, the harmony breaks and the clock begins to run faster. Think of your body as a small city. The heart is the power plant, the liver the recycling plant, the brain the control tower. Each needs to know when to open and when to close. Circadian rhythms are the traffic lights of that city. When they're well timed, traffic flows smoothly. When they flicker, chaos spreads, energy crashes, inflammation rises, and repair crews fall behind. Stress is the most silent thief of time. When your body stays in fight or flight too long, cortisol, the stress hormone, tells your cells that survival matters more than maintenance. Growth slows, repair pauses, and the small cracks of aging widen. You may not feel it at first, but weeks of tension become months, and the biological clock ticks louder. Diet can do the same. Constant sugar spikes, heavy late-night meals, or over-restriction all confuse the rhythm. The pancreas works overtime, insulin floods the system, cells drown in energy they can't use. Meanwhile, the mitochondria, your energy engines, begin to sputter. They produce less power and more waste, like engines burning dirty fuel. Sleep, too, is part of this equation. During deep sleep, the brain clears toxins and resets hormonal cycles. Miss that window often enough, and the debris builds up. It's like skipping the nightly cleaning of a laboratory. The next day begins on borrowed disorder. The first secret is consistency. Go to bed and rise at roughly the same time. Eat at similar hours. Move daily. Your body loves predictability. It allows every organ to prepare in advance. The liver can anticipate digestion. The brain can plan repair. Muscles can release stored energy smoothly. The second secret is light. Morning sunlight on the eyes resets the master clock in your brain, telling it that the day has begun. In the evening, dim lights signal rest. This simple dialogue between you and the sky calibrates every inner rhythm: hormones, temperature, metabolism, even mood. The third is micro-recovery. A few minutes of slow breathing, a short walk after meals, a quiet cup of tea away from screens. These pauses remind your body that life isn't an emergency. Each moment of calm is like oil on the gears of the clock, reducing friction, slowing wear. Imagine a pair of twins. Emily works long hours, lives on takeout, and sleeps 5 hours a night. Her sister Claire finishes work early, cooks simply, gardens, and walks each evening. 10 years later, doctors find Emily's blood markers, inflammation, glucose, oxidative stress, reflect someone 15 years older. Claire's resembles someone younger than her chronological age. The difference isn't luck, it's rhythm. Emily's life runs against her internal tide. Claire moves with it. The same genes, two clocks ticking at different speeds. People often ask for a single cure, a pill, a superfood, a breakthrough molecule. But longevity refuses to be simplified. You can't trick time, you can only cooperate with it. The hidden clock is not your enemy. It's a messenger, constantly whispering what the body needs. Rest when tired, water when dry, silence when overstimulated. Ignoring those whispers is easy in a world that rewards speed. Yet every shortcut, the skipped meal, the late-night scroll, the caffeine-powered morning, borrows minutes from the future. Health is a slow economy. Every borrowed minute must be repaid, often with interest. The body's dialogue with time. Inside every nucleus, enzymes repair DNA breaks, recycle damaged proteins, and replace exhausted cells. These processes respond directly to lifestyle. Regular movement increases cellular repair signals. Fasting intervals trigger autophagy, a cleanup system that removes worn-out components. Think of it as nightly maintenance crews sweeping through the city, fixing what daytime stress damaged. When these crews work undisturbed, tissues stay young longer. When they're blocked by constant eating, stress, or lack of sleep, damage accumulates. The city begins to decay from within. If the body already has such self-healing wisdom, why do we age at all? Partly because balance is fragile. The world around us, noise, pollution, artificial light, emotional pressure, constantly disrupts it. The clock struggles to keep order amid the noise. Longevity, then, isn't about adding new systems, but protecting the ancient one we already have. There's another layer, rarely mentioned: emotion. Feelings of gratitude, joy, and belonging stabilize the nervous system. Chronic resentment or loneliness speeds the pulse and shortens breath, subtly signaling threat. Over time, that signal shapes biology as powerfully as diet or sleep. Studies of long-lived communities reveal laughter, purpose, and close connection as recurring themes. Their clocks tick slower because their hearts feel safe. When you walk slowly through a park, when you breathe before replying, when you savor a meal, you're teaching your cells that there's time. Slowness is not laziness, it's information. It tells the body that danger has passed, that repair can begin. This message echoes down to mitochondria, hormones, even DNA expression. The pursuit of longevity can itself become a stressor. Counting steps, tracking calories, chasing optimization. The body, constantly monitored, never relaxes. True longevity happens when care turns into ease, when discipline becomes rhythm rather than pressure. So if time within the body can speed or slow depending on choices, where does responsibility end and biology begin? That leads us to the next truth, that genes write the opening chapter, but habits write the rest. The clock's design may be inherited, but its tempo is yours to conduct. To understand how much control you truly have, we must open the next layer, the quiet dance between genes and choices, where inheritance meets intention, and the story of longevity begins to take shape. We often hear people say, "It runs in my family." It's a phrase that carries both comfort and surrender, as if our fate is sealed inside a strand of DNA, written long before we learn to walk. But what if that story is only half true? What if your genes are not a sentence, but a script that's constantly being rewritten by every meal you eat, every emotion you feel, every hour you sleep, and every breath you take? Your DNA is the blueprint, yes, but it's not the builder. It's a set of instructions that the body can choose to follow or ignore. Your real builders are your daily habits, the food you give yourselves, the movement that wakes them up, the thoughts that signal safety or danger. Genes hold potential. Habits decide which potential becomes reality. Imagine your DNA as a vast library filled with millions of books, each one a recipe for a possible version of you. Some of those books describe health and vitality, others describe disease, decline, or disorder. Every day, your lifestyle determines which books are pulled from the shelf and which remain unopened. When you eat fresh, colorful foods, when you sleep deeply, when you manage stress gently, you're telling your librarian, your cells, to choose the chapters of repair, balance, and longevity. This isn't poetic, it's biochemical. The field of epigenetics studies how lifestyle changes affect gene expression, meaning whether a gene is switched on or off. For example, someone might carry a gene that increases their risk for heart disease, but if they maintain a balanced diet, move daily, and keep inflammation low, that gene can stay silent. It exists, but it doesn't speak. And silence, in this case, is survival. Now think about this. If genes were destiny, identical twins would live identical lives. They'd get the same illnesses, die at the same age, follow the same emotional patterns. But they don't. Over time, one may develop diabetes while the other stays healthy. One may remain energetic while the other feels drained. The difference lies not in what they inherited, but in how they lived, in how their choices shaped which genes woke up and which stayed asleep. Your body listens to your behavior like language. When you nourish it, it translates that kindness into molecular calm, lower inflammation, balanced hormones, slower cellular aging. When you feed it stress and neglect, it responds with urgency, high cortisol, chaotic signals, defensive chemistry. The story of health is a story of conversation, what you say to your body and how it answers back. There's a beautiful paradox here. You can't change your genes, but you can change how they behave. You were born with a piano, but you choose how to play it. Some people spend life striking the same few anxious Ps. Others learn to play softer with rhythm and patience until the melody becomes peaceful and long. The piano doesn't change, only the player does. When researchers looked at long-lived communities, Okinawa in Japan, Ikaria in Greece, Nicoya in Costa Rica, they found genetic diversity everywhere. What united them wasn't DNA, it was lifestyle. They ate natural, unprocessed foods grown near home. They walked daily, not as exercise, but as life. They valued belonging, purpose, and gratitude. Their environment, their rhythm, their emotional stability all became daily love letters to their genes, and those genes responded by slowing down the clock. But the opposite is also true. A stressful, isolated, sedentary lifestyle can turn even the healthiest genes against you. Chronic stress floods the body with cortisol, which in turn silences genes responsible for immunity and repair. Poor diet inflames cells, damaging DNA structure. Constant artificial light confuses circadian genes that regulate metabolism. Your biology listens to your lifestyle the way a garden listens to weather. Sometimes it blooms, sometimes it burns. The truth is, you are never entirely free of your genes, but you're never entirely trapped by them either. They're like a compass, pointing in a direction, but you still hold the map. You can walk with or against it. Some paths will feel natural, others like swimming upstream. The key is not to fight your genetics, but to cooperate with them, to understand what your body naturally leans toward and gently balance it. If your family has a history of high blood pressure, it doesn't mean you're doomed. It means your system is sensitive to stress and salt. That's knowledge, not a curse. If your family struggles with weight gain, it might mean your metabolism evolved to store energy efficiently, a gift in times of scarcity, a challenge in abundance. Awareness gives you choice, and choice gives you freedom. Here's what the research quietly proves. Lifestyle can override nearly 70% of genetic risk factors for the most common chronic diseases, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, even some cancers. The genes set the stage, but your habits decide how the play unfolds. You can change the lighting, rewrite the dialogue, even extend the performance. But there's one more twist. The choices you make don't just affect you. Your habits can leave epigenetic marks that pass to your children. What you eat, how you manage stress, how you sleep, these choices echo through generations. A single moment of healthful living can ripple across time, gently rewriting the script for those who come after. So next time you hear someone say, "It's in my genes," remember this: it may be, but so are 1,000 other possibilities. Your DNA is not a locked door, it's a hallway full of open ones. Each decision you make turns the handle on a different future. And as we move forward, we'll explore how those decisions, especially what you eat, how you rest, and how you move, can unlock one of the body's most powerful levers for longevity, the Metabolic Code, the system that decides how every drop of energy is created, used, and stored within you. Every living thing runs on energy, not wealth, not luck, not time, but energy. It's the invisible currency that decides how alive you feel. Yet most people move through life in debt to their own body, constantly borrowing tomorrow's energy to survive today. The art of longevity begins with learning how that energy is made, stored, and spent, the delicate balance of the Metabolic Code. Your metabolism is not just about burning calories. It's the master translator between what you eat and what you become. When it's in harmony, every cell feels nourished, alert, and calm. When it's disrupted, the body feels foggy, inflamed, tired. This system isn't static. It adjusts constantly, interpreting your lifestyle like language. The food you eat, the movement you choose, the timing of your meals, even your emotions, all of them rewrite this code in real time. Imagine your metabolism as an orchestra directed by insulin. Insulin's role is to move energy, to carry glucose, the simplest fuel, into your cells. When the body is sensitive to insulin, this process feels effortless. Food turns to energy, energy fuels life, and balance remains intact. But when the signal becomes distorted through constant snacking, processed sugars, or chronic stress, cells stop listening. The conductor keeps shouting, and the music turns chaotic. That is the beginning of metabolic aging. The tragedy is quiet. You don't feel the imbalance immediately. You just notice small things: heavier mornings, slower focus, cravings that seem louder than hunger. Inside, your body is drowning in abundance, yet starving for usable fuel. Glucose floods the blood, insulin levels rise to chase it, fat storage increases, inflammation whispers beneath the surface. Over years, this becomes the background noise of modern life, the slow leak of vitality. Longevity thrives on metabolic calm. The body loves stability, gentle fluctuations of blood sugar, steady access to nutrients, long spaces between meals for repair. That's why the world's longest-lived people often eat less often, not less food. Their bodies rest between meals, burning stored fat, cleaning up damaged proteins. This natural fasting rhythm restores sensitivity to insulin and gives the system time to breathe. The reason ancient cultures celebrated moderation, it wasn't deprivation, it was intelligence. To pause eating is to let your body remember itself. Each break in consumption triggers autophagy, the body's internal recycling system, sweeping away cellular debris. Modern science confirms what old wisdom already knew. Balance doesn't come from abundance, but from rhythm. The problem with modern life isn't that we lack food, it's that we never stop feeding. The constant stream of calories, caffeine, and stimulation keeps insulin permanently active.
The body forgets how to switch gears, from feeding to fasting, from storing to healing. Longevity depends on restoring this lost rhythm. Sleep plays its part too. While you rest, metabolism slows and shifts from consumption to restoration. Growth hormone rises, insulin falls, cells repair. Miss sleep often enough, and that cycle collapses. Energy production falters, hunger hormones surge, and you wake up craving sugar, the quickest but dirtiest fuel. Over time, this cycle ages the body faster than years themselves. Then comes stress, the most subtle metabolic disruptor. When cortisol stays high, it tells the body to keep glucose in the blood for emergencies. But those emergencies rarely come. Instead, you sit still, flooded with unused energy that turns to fat, inflammation, and exhaustion. Chronic stress rewires metabolism towards survival mode, draining longevity one quiet day at a time. To restore balance, start with gentleness. The body responds best to predictability, regular meal times, natural foods, light movement. Eat slowly enough to taste your food. Stop before you feel full. Let a few hours pass before eating again. These small acts reset your hormonal rhythm. Within weeks, your cells begin to trust you again. Energy becomes steady, not spiked. Hunger softens. Sleep deepens. Metabolic harmony doesn't come from restriction, but respect. When you move your body daily, not to burn calories, but to circulate life, you signal abundance. Muscles use glucose efficiently. Fat cells release energy calmly. The whole system breathes easier. Walking, stretching, light strength training. Each one whispers reassurance to your metabolism. You're safe, you're capable, you're alive. Think of insulin not as an enemy, but a teacher. It rewards patience, punishes chaos, and thrives on consistency. The more predictable your rhythms, the less it needs to shout. Over time, balance becomes effortless, and the body stops aging ahead of schedule. Energy, at its core, is communication. It tells every cell whether you're in feast or famine, stress or safety. Longevity comes from mastering that conversation, learning when to feed, when to rest, when to move, and when to simply be still. The real secret isn't speed or strength, it's efficiency. Doing more with less, living on clean, steady energy instead of constant spikes. The people who live the longest don't chase fuel, they cultivate flow. Their days are slow, their meals simple, their bodies responsive. And that brings us to the next truth. If energy is the fuel of life, then how you consume it decides how long it lasts. To understand that, we must look deeper into one of the simplest yet most powerful longevity tools of all, the power of eating slowly, and how mindfulness at the table quietly rewires the chemistry of time. Most people think longevity begins in laboratories or fitness routines, but in truth, it begins at the table, in the pace of your bite, the patience of your breath, and the quiet attention you give to food. Eating slowly might sound ordinary, but it is one of the most profound biological levers you have. It rebalances hormones, calms inflammation, deepens digestion, and tells your body something it rarely hears in modern life: there is enough time. When you eat fast, you send panic through your system. Your brain receives food signals only after about 20 minutes, so by the time your body realizes it's full, you've already eaten more than you need. The stomach stretches, insulin spikes, and energy floods the bloodstream too quickly. Soon after, blood sugar crashes, hunger returns, and the cycle repeats, a rhythm of imbalance that ages the body faster than any calendar can show. But when you eat slowly, when you chew fully, taste deeply, and breathe between bites, something remarkable happens. Hormones like ghrelin, which signals hunger, and leptin, which signals fullness, begin to synchronize. The nervous system shifts from fight or flight to rest and digest. Blood flow moves toward the stomach. Digestion becomes efficient, graceful, unhurried. The same food nourishes more simply because your body is calm enough to receive it. Mindful eating is not a diet, it's a conversation between your senses and your biology. Each bite becomes a message, one that tells your body the danger has passed, that nourishment is safe. In that stillness, digestion turns from mechanical to intelligent, nutrients absorb better, metabolism steadies, the body stores less, burns cleaner, repairs faster. In long-lived cultures, meals are rituals, not refueling stops. Families sit together, talk softly, and eat until satisfied, not stuffed. The meal itself becomes an act of presence, a rhythm that teaches patience. They rarely eat standing, scrolling, or rushing. Food isn't just nutrition, it's communion. The atmosphere of calm signals the parasympathetic system, the body's repair mode, to awaken. Longevity hides in those moments of slowness more than in any supplement.
When you rush, your body digests not only food, but tension. The stomach tightens, acid increases, and absorption weakens. The gut, often called the second brain, feels every emotion. Anxiety can halt digestion entirely. Peace can restart it. That's why gratitude before eating isn't superstition, it's chemistry. Gratitude lowers stress hormones, primes digestion, and strengthens immunity. Eating slowly also protects one of your most delicate systems, insulin regulation. When meals stretch over time, glucose enters the blood gradually. Insulin rises gently, guiding energy into cells without overwhelming them. Over years, this steadiness prevents insulin resistance, the silent beginning of many chronic diseases. Simply by slowing down, you give your pancreas a quieter life and your cells a longer one. There's another layer to this art: chewing. It's the first step of digestion, yet the most ignored. Chewing releases enzymes that start breaking down starches and fats before they even reach the stomach. It also sends signals to the brain that nourishment is coming, preparing the entire digestive tract. Each mindful chew is like knocking on the door of longevity, asking the body to awaken fully to its task. In fast-paced cities, people often eat while working, driving, or scrolling, a divided attention that confuses the body. The mind consumes distraction, the body consumes food, neither feels complete. Slowing down reunites them. It turns eating into meditation, one where every sense participates. The aroma, the color, the texture, they all tell the body, you are here, you are safe. When people shift to mindful eating, small miracles occur. They feel full sooner, crave less sugar, sleep better, and experience calmer digestion. Their energy lasts longer through the day because blood sugar remains stable. Their mood improves too. Serotonin, much of which is made in the gut, flows more freely when digestion is peaceful. Science confirms what ancient wisdom knew. How you eat changes what food becomes. A rushed meal can turn healthy ingredients into discomfort. A slow one can turn modest meals into deep nourishment. Longevity isn't just in what you eat, but in how you honor the act itself. To eat slowly is to reclaim your rhythm from a world that demands haste. It's to tell your body, I'm not in danger, I can rest while I live. Over years, that simple signal may matter more than any trend or pill. And as you begin to master this rhythm of mindful nourishment, the next question arises. What exactly should fill your plate if you wish not just to live long, but to live well? To answer that, we step into the next chapter, the longevity diet, the quiet patterns of food that the longest living people on Earth have shared for centuries. If you travel across the world's blue zones, those rare places where people live the longest and healthiest lives, you'll notice something almost invisible at first. Their diets aren't extreme. They don't follow the latest health trends, count calories, or chase superfoods. Their secret lies not in restriction, but in rhythm, balance, and simplicity. In Okinawa, Japan, elders rise with the sun and eat small bowls of vegetables, tofu, sweet potatoes, and seaweed. Their meals are colorful but light. They stop when they're about 80% full, a practice called hara hachi bu. In Sardinia, Italy, families share long lunches of beans, whole grains, olive oil, and red wine, always surrounded by laughter. In Nicoya, Costa Rica, people eat corn tortillas, black beans, papaya, and drink hard water rich in minerals. Thousands of miles apart, yet their diets hum with the same quiet pattern, plant-rich, unprocessed, steady. These meals tell the same biological story. The closer food is to its natural state, the easier it is for the body to read. Highly processed food confuses metabolism like static in a song. Whole food, vegetables, fruits, legumes, grains, nuts, delivers clarity. It speaks the same language your ancestors' bodies understood. The longevity diet isn't about deprivation, it's about harmony. Roughly 90 to 95% of calories in blue zone diets come from plants. Meat appears as flavor, not focus, maybe a few times a month. Dairy, when used, comes from sheep or goats rather than cows. Fish is eaten in small portions, often locally caught. Sugar hides quietly in fruit, not in bottles or boxes. Meals are cooked slowly, eaten slowly, digested peacefully. But the real secret isn't in what they eat, it's in how they eat together. Meals are social anchors. No one eats alone in front of a screen. They sit down, pray or express gratitude, and share. This rhythm lowers cortisol, improves digestion, and nurtures emotional stability, all of which extend lifespan in ways nutrition labels never can. Modern diets treat food as fuel, but in long-lived cultures, food is memory, connection, ritual. It's the moment when the body and soul eat at the same pace. This is why even when calorie counts are similar, the health outcomes differ dramatically. Stressful eating breaks digestion. Calm eating completes it. Protein in the longevity diet doesn't come from supplements, but from beans, lentils, peas, and seeds. These plant proteins come with fiber, slowing sugar absorption, stabilizing insulin, and feeding beneficial gut bacteria. Those bacteria in turn produce short-chain fatty acids that calm inflammation and protect against disease. The gut and brain form a loop. A calm gut keeps the mind calm, and a calm mind keeps the body young. Healthy fats are central too. Olive oil in the Mediterranean, avocados in Latin America, nuts in Loma Linda. These fats coat cells, protect memory, and reduce oxidative stress. Unlike industrial oils, they carry polyphenols and antioxidants that signal safety to your biology. A spoon of pure olive oil may not sound like a miracle, but over decades it behaves like one. And then there's fasting, not as punishment, but as pause.
In Okinawa, people eat breakfast late and dinner early. In Ikeria, long nights of rest separate light meals. This daily fasting rhythm allows insulin to fall, cells to clean themselves, and metabolism to reset. It's the quiet act of allowing the body to catch up. The longevity diet also values diversity, not just in nutrients, but in flavor and color. Different pigments in fruits and vegetables represent different antioxidants, each repairing unique parts of the body. Red tomatoes for the heart, orange carrots for the eyes, purple berries for the brain, green leaves for the blood. It's nature's pharmacy arranged like a painting. The modern obsession with high-protein, low-carb or no-fat plans misses this harmony. The body doesn't thrive on extremes, it thrives on variety and moderation. A balanced plate is less exciting to market but more powerful to live by. Longevity isn't built in a week of discipline, it's built in decades of gentle consistency. The people who live the longest don't think about dieting at all. They think about life, family, gardens, conversation. Food supports their rhythm, it doesn't rule it. To eat like them isn't to imitate their menu, but to learn their mindset. Cook from scratch. Eat with others. Bless your meal. Stop before full and listen to hunger as a whisper, not a shout. Your body understands this language immediately, because the truth is, food isn't just nourishment, it's information. Each bite tells your genes how to behave, your cells how to age, your heart how to beat. The longer you eat calmly, the longer your body stays in tune. And to keep that tune steady, one more element becomes essential: movement. The next layer of longevity isn't found at the table, but just beyond it, in the gentle daily rhythm of movement. So now we step into the next truth: movement as medicine, and how simply staying in motion can keep the body young long after the years have passed. If food is the body's language, then movement is its prayer, a quiet ritual that keeps every system alive and listening. For most of human history, we didn't move to stay fit, we moved to stay alive. We carried water, tended fields, climbed hills, and walked miles to visit friends. The body evolved expecting motion. Not bursts of intensity, but a steady rhythm of activity woven into daily life. When that rhythm stops, the body begins to forget its own design. The first sign of forgetting is stiffness. Muscles that once flowed like water become still. Blood slows, joints ache, energy fades. The heart, lungs, brain, even the gut all depend on the language of motion to stay awake. You could eat the cleanest food and sleep in perfect darkness, yet without movement, those efforts lose their meaning. Stagnation is decay in slow motion. Long-lived people don't exercise the way modern life defines it. They rarely go to gyms or track steps. Instead, movement is part of their environment. They walk to neighbors, garden, dance, climb stairs, kneel, stretch, sweep, cook. Their activity is gentle but constant, never forced, never separate from living. Their muscles stay strong, their joints remain flexible, and their hearts stay rhythmic, simply because stillness never gets a chance to settle in. Modern science confirms what their lives demonstrate. Movement activates the body's repair systems. When you move, blood brings oxygen to every corner of the body, lymph carries away toxins, and mitochondria, your cell's power stations, multiply. Each step tells your body, keep building, keep renewing. Even 5 minutes of walking after a meal lowers blood sugar, protects insulin sensitivity, and eases digestion.
The body listens closely to motion. Even the smallest gestures matter. Movement also feeds the mind. Every time your muscles stretch and contract, they send electrical signals to the brain, releasing endorphins and growth factors that sharpen focus, stabilize mood, and even encourage new brain cells to grow. That's why a slow walk can untangle a heavy thought. The body moves, and the mind follows. There's a beautiful simplicity in this. You don't need perfection, just participation. Studies show that even light daily motion, walking, sweeping, standing up often, can extend life as much as structured workouts. It's not intensity that protects longevity, it's consistency. The body rewards repetition, not heroism. When we sit for long hours, metabolism slows, muscles stop burning glucose, and circulation weakens. The brain gets less oxygen. Energy dips. The body interprets this as hibernation. Over years, this modern stillness becomes a silent disease. Muscles atrophy, fat accumulates, blood thickens. The cure is deceptively simple. Move more, move often, move naturally. Movement doesn't just prevent illness, it communicates safety. A body in motion tells the brain that life continues, that the environment is stable. This message keeps the nervous system calm, lowering chronic stress. In long-lived cultures, elders often work into their 80s, not because they must, but because they can. Movement keeps purpose alive. Purpose keeps movement alive. There's also a rhythm to the type of movement. Slow, deliberate activities like yoga, tai chi, or gardening calm the nervous system and stretch connective tissues that hold the body upright. Faster movements like brisk walking, swimming, or cycling strengthen the heart and lungs. Together, they create balance, strength without strain, endurance without exhaustion. But beyond the science lies something more subtle. When you walk at dawn or stretch at dusk, the body syncs with the rhythm of nature. Morning light wakes cortisol gently, preparing the body for focus. Evening movement releases the tension of the day, signaling the transition to rest. These natural cycles are not separate from longevity. They are its pulse. People who move consistently don't just live longer, they live better. They wake with energy, digest with ease, sleep with peace. Their joints age slowly. Their mood remains stable. Their immune systems stay resilient. Even bones, once thought to weaken inevitably with time, respond to gentle stress. Each step whispers to them, "Stay strong, stay needed." The body is a story written by repetition. Every day you move, you teach it a better ending. Over decades, that story becomes visible in the way you stand, breathe, and recover. Longevity is not built in moments of effort, but in years of quiet motion. And when the day's rhythm of movement finally slows, another kind of medicine takes over, the unseen healer that renews you from within. It's where the body stops working and starts repairing. To understand that next layer, we turn to the most overlooked pillar of longevity, the art of deep rest, where true recovery begins long before sleep and far deeper than it. In a world obsessed with doing, rest has become rebellion. Yet every long-lived culture understands one timeless truth. Renewal doesn't come from effort, it comes from stillness. Deep rest is not laziness, it's the foundation of longevity. It's the quiet interval where the body stops performing and starts healing.
Without it, no diet, supplement, or exercise can hold the body together for long. Sleep is often called the third of life we spend unconscious, but it's really the third of life that keeps the other two alive. Inside those dark, silent hours, the body performs miracles too complex to sense, repairing DNA, cleansing the brain, balancing hormones, and strengthening memory. Every night, your body tries to rebuild what the day broke down. When that cycle is cut short, the cost is invisible but immense. Modern life has made rest difficult. Artificial light stretches our days beyond nature's limits. Screens pulse with dopamine long after sunset. Work bleeds into night. The mind never stops scrolling, and the nervous system, confused by constant stimulation, forgets the rhythm of calm. Over time, this quiet exhaustion becomes the background hum of modern existence, an aging accelerator disguised as productivity. But sleep is not the only form of rest. True restoration begins long before the lights go out. It starts with moments of intentional stillness, deep breathing, quiet pauses, time away from urgency. When you let yourself stop, even for a few minutes, your body switches from survival mode to repair mode. The parasympathetic nervous system, your body's internal caretaker, awakens. Blood pressure lowers, digestion deepens. The immune system wakes up like a gardener tending overgrown soil. This is why long-lived societies weave rest into daily life, not just nighttime. In Okinawa, work and leisure blur. People pause naturally through the day. In Ikaria, afternoons dissolve into naps and slow conversations. In Sardinia, families linger after meals, talking as the body digests. They don't chase recovery, they live inside it. Rest is not scheduled, it's cultural. Science calls the body's nightly renewal glymphatic cleansing, a process where cerebrospinal fluid flushes toxins and waste from the brain. Without enough sleep, that waste lingers, clouding memory and focus. Deep sleep also regulates appetite hormones, repairs tissues, and stabilizes the immune response. In short, sleep is not rest from life, it's part of life's design. To sleep deeply, the body must feel safe. Stress tells it to stay alert, even in the dark. That's why calm evenings matter. Dim lights, slow breathing, gratitude rituals, silence. These signals whisper to the body that the day is complete, danger is gone, and repair can begin. Temperature also speaks to your biology. As the body cools slightly at night, melatonin, the sleep hormone, rises. Warm baths before bed work, not because of heat, but because the drop in temperature afterwards triggers the body's signal for rest. Even light exposure has a language. Morning sunlight resets your circadian rhythm. Evening darkness keeps it steady. But perhaps the deepest rest isn't physical at all. It's emotional. The mind needs stillness as much as muscles do. Lingering resentment, guilt, or worry keeps the nervous system in tension long after you've closed your eyes. Forgiveness, gratitude, and reflection release that grip. That's why people who meditate, pray, or simply breathe consciously before bed tend to live longer. Their hearts learn to rest as much as their bodies. There's also the rest found in presence. When you sit in silence, walk without rushing, or listen without planning your reply, your mind drops its armor. You begin to experience what researchers call restorative awareness, moments when the brain shifts from analyzing to simply being. These pauses reset energy better than hours of distraction. In long-lived people, rest isn't passive, it's rhythmic. They work with purpose, move with intention, and rest with reverence. Every cycle of effort is followed by recovery. This balance keeps their systems resilient, not depleted. To rest deeply, you must reclaim your relationship with time. The body doesn't need more hours, it needs unbroken rhythm. Going to bed at the same time, waking with light, eating regularly, these patterns teach your biology that the world is predictable, that life is safe, and in safety, the body repairs. Imagine sleep as an inner tide. Each night it rises to cleanse, then retreats to reveal what's been renewed. Skipping rest is like holding back that tide. Eventually, everything dries, cracks, and erodes. But when you allow it to flow, life replenishes itself quietly. Longevity is not built through motion alone, but through the spaces between, the pauses where the body remembers itself. Deep rest is not escape from life, it's what keeps life possible. And when the body has finally learned how to rest, it begins to face its greatest silent adversary with calm, stress, the invisible force that shortens lives without leaving scars. To understand how inner peace slows aging more than any medicine ever could, we move next to stress and the silent decay. Aging had a sound. It wouldn't be the ticking of time. It would be the hum of constant tension beneath the surface. Stress is not loud. It doesn't shout or strike all at once. It seeps quietly, shaping your body's chemistry, rewriting your hormones, and tightening your tissues until vitality becomes fatigue. The body can heal from hunger, cold, or effort, but not from endless alarm. For millions, stress has become normal, so normal that calm feels suspicious. We live on schedules packed beyond capacity, under lights that never fade, answering devices that never sleep. The human nervous system, built for brief danger, now runs in permanent defense mode. This is where aging accelerates, not from years past, but from recovery denied. Biologically, stress begins as protection. When danger appears, your brain releases adrenaline and cortisol, preparing muscles to fight or flee. Your heart beats faster. Sugar floods your blood for quick fuel. Digestion pauses. It's a brilliant short-term system, but when that alarm never turns off, when deadlines, traffic, and noise become daily predators, those same hormones start breaking you down. Cortisol, in small bursts, heals inflammation. In excess, it creates it. It narrows arteries, raises blood pressure, and weakens immunity. It shrinks the hippocampus, the part of your brain that forms memory, and disrupts hormones like insulin and estrogen. Over time, your body starts mistaking ordinary life for constant threat. Muscles tighten, sleep weakens, digestion dulls, and the immune system stands guard even when there's nothing to fight. This is the silent decay of stress, not dramatic, but steady and relentless. The irony is that your body doesn't know the difference between a tiger in the jungle and an email at midnight. To the nervous system, both are danger. Each worry, argument, or unresolved thought triggers the same flood of stress chemicals, and each flood erodes longevity a little more, like water carving stone, softly, invisibly, permanently. But the good news is this: calm is chemistry too. When you breathe deeply, your vagus nerve, a long thread connecting brain and body, tells every organ to relax. Heart rate slows, digestion returns, inflammation decreases. The immune system switches from defense to repair. Within minutes, measurable aging markers like oxidative stress and inflammation proteins begin to drop. Inner peace is not philosophy, it's molecular medicine. In long-lived societies, calm isn't a special practice, it's woven into life. In Sardinia, people laugh and walk daily.
In Okinawa, they garden and meditate on gratitude. In Ikaria, they nap, sing, and move with the rhythm of daylight. These cultures understand something science only later confirmed. The body heals in safety. Joy, laughter, silence, these are biological tools as powerful as nutrition. Stress ages you not because it hurts the mind, but because it confuses the body. It makes your cells believe life is unsafe. They stop repairing, hoard resources, and shift energy from growth to defense. Mitochondria, the energy engines, begin to falter. Collagen weakens. Even your telomeres, the protective caps on your DNA, shorten faster. Chronic stress literally compresses your lifespan at the cellular level. The path back isn't found in pills, but in presence. Calm is built the same way stress is, through repetition. A morning walk in sunlight, a few minutes of slow breathing before work, small pauses between tasks. The nervous system learns safety through routine, not theory. Each calm moment is a whisper to your biology. You are safe. You can heal now. There's also the calm of perspective, knowing that not everything deserves urgency. Long-lived people practice this naturally. They care deeply but worry lightly. Their priorities are simple: community, movement, nourishment, purpose. When your life has meaning, stress loses leverage. A meaningful life is a shield against decay. One of the quietest yet most effective stress relievers is kindness. Acts of generosity, listening, helping, forgiving lower cortisol and boost oxytocin, the hormone of connection. Oxytocin counters nearly every harmful effect of stress. It lowers blood pressure, improves heart function, strengthens immunity, and even increases pain tolerance. To live kindly is to live longer. It's easy to dismiss calm as softness, but it's actually strength, the kind that doesn't break under pressure because it doesn't resist it. Like a reed in the wind, it bends, flows, returns. Resilience is not toughness, it's adaptability. The oldest people in the world have lived through war, loss, and hardship, yet they share one trait: emotional flexibility. They don't hold on too long to fear. They let go and begin again. Every deep breath, every patient pause, every gentle response is a message to your body that life continues safely. Over time, these moments rebuild what stress eroded. They slow inflammation, lengthen telomeres, balance hormones, and soften the edges of time. The supplement industry sells vitality in bottles, but the truest anti-aging compound is free: inner peace. It costs only attention and repetition. And once the mind learns to calm, something remarkable happens. The body's hormones begin to harmonize. Energy stabilizes, mood steadies, sleep deepens. To understand how this hidden chemistry keeps youth alive long after the years advance, we now move into the next truth, the Hormone Symphony, where balance, not abundance, becomes the real secret to lasting vitality. Inside you, there is an orchestra playing without pause, a harmony of invisible messengers called hormones. They regulate everything: your heartbeat, appetite, sleep, mood, strength, and even the way you age. When the music is balanced, you feel light, alert, and alive. When one instrument plays too loudly or too softly, the entire melody falters. Vitality doesn't come from having more hormones, but from keeping them in tune. Hormones are the body's language of balance. They carry signals between organs, telling them when to work and when to rest. Insulin moves energy. Cortisol manages stress. Melatonin guides sleep. Thyroid hormones regulate metabolism,
and estrogen and testosterone shape repair and growth. None of them act alone. Each listens and responds to the others in a loop so delicate that even small disruptions ripple across every system. The tragedy of modern life is that we've confused stimulation with vitality. Coffee, screens, and stress push cortisol up. Constant eating pushes insulin up. Late nights dim melatonin. Pollution and poor diet disrupt thyroid function. Each of these signals was meant to rise and fall like waves, but instead they now stay high, crashing into each other, creating noise where there should be rhythm. Over years, that noise becomes exhaustion. In the early morning, cortisol should rise gently, waking the body. But for many, it spikes too early, jolting them into anxiety instead of calm alertness. Later in the day, when cortisol should fall, caffeine and pressure keep it climbing. The body never receives the "day is over" signal. At night, melatonin tries to begin its quiet lullaby, but the blue glow of screens tells the brain that dawn has already come. Sleep becomes shallow, and the night's repair work goes unfinished. Then there's insulin, the steady baseline of metabolism. It rises when you eat, guiding energy into cells, then drops as cells are fed. But modern diets, filled with constant snacks and refined carbohydrates, keep insulin permanently elevated. The cells stop listening, leading to fatigue, weight gain, and accelerated aging. What used to be music becomes static.
Estrogen and testosterone, often treated as symbols of youth, are really caretakers of balance. Too little weakens bones and mood. Too much creates inflammation and tension. These hormones thrive in stability, not excess. That's why long-lived people rarely chase hormonal enhancement. They earn harmony through natural rhythm: sleep, movement, sunlight, connection. Even thyroid hormones, the quiet conductors of metabolism, respond to lifestyle. Stress, toxins, and undernourishment slow their release, cooling the body's energy. The result feels like heaviness, cold hands, slow thoughts, fatigue. But the thyroid, like every instrument in this orchestra, can be tuned through nourishment and rest. The key isn't to boost any one hormone, it's to let them talk again. And that conversation begins with balance: waking with light, eating real food, moving daily, sleeping in darkness, managing stress gently. Each of these small acts sends notes of alignment to your biology. In long-lived communities, this symphony plays naturally. Their mornings are slow. Their nights are dark and quiet. They eat at regular hours, walk often, and laugh daily. Their hormones rise and fall with the sun, creating a stable rhythm where aging slows, not through effort, but through consistency. Science calls this homeostasis, the state of dynamic equilibrium where every process adjusts to support the whole. But to the body, it feels like peace. It's the sense of being both energized and relaxed, strong yet soft, alert yet calm. There's another truth here. Emotional balance feeds hormonal balance. Every time you feel gratitude, kindness, or love, your body releases oxytocin, which lowers stress hormones and supports immune function. Joy is not abstract, it's endocrine chemistry. You don't need to chase vitality, you need to create conditions where it can arise naturally. Think of hormones as musicians waiting for quiet so they can hear the rhythm again. Your role isn't to control them, but to give them space to play. When you eat slowly, rest deeply, and move gently, cortisol lowers, insulin stabilizes, melatonin deepens, thyroid steadies, and reproductive hormones balance. The result is not high energy, but steady energy, the kind that lasts decades. The harmony of hormones is the harmony of life itself, everything rising and falling together, without force. True longevity comes not from hormonal abundance, but from internal conversation that never loses its rhythm. And as we follow this rhythm further, another truth unfolds, that the mind and body are not separate orchestras at all, but one. Every thought, every feeling, every belief plays its note through biology. To understand how emotions shape longevity as deeply as diet or sleep, we step next into the mind-body continuum, where the way you think becomes the way you age. There is no clear line where the mind ends and the body begins. What you think, the body feels. What the body experiences, the mind interprets. Together, they form one continuous field of communication, a conversation that never stops, even when you sleep. This is the mind-body continuum, the invisible thread that weaves emotions into cells, thoughts into chemistry, and moods into measurable changes in health and lifespan. Every thought is an electrical impulse, and every impulse carries a chemical echo. When you feel joy, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, gentle messengers that calm inflammation, regulate blood pressure, and strengthen immunity. When you feel chronic fear or sadness, cortisol and adrenaline flood the system, constricting vessels, slowing digestion, and altering how cells repair themselves. Over time, your biology begins to reflect your inner world. It's not imagination, it's feedback. The nervous system, endocrine system, and immune system form one network. Your thoughts travel through this network like weather, sometimes sunny, sometimes stormy. A kind thought relaxes arteries, a bitter one can raise blood pressure. Gratitude lengthens the breath, anxiety shortens it. Optimism boosts immunity, despair suppresses it. Every emotion is a microdose of information, shaping the body's rhythm, molecule by molecule. The oldest people in the world often share one quiet trait: emotional equilibrium. They experience hardship, yes, but they recover quickly. Their minds don't stay stuck in conflict. They forgive more easily, worry less, and find humor even in misfortune. This resilience isn't just psychological, it's physiological. Their nervous systems return to calm faster, giving their bodies more time in healing mode and less in defense. That time, accumulated over decades, becomes years of extra life. Stressful thoughts are like sparks. One is harmless, 1,000 can burn the system. Every moment of anger or resentment activates the amygdala, the brain's alarm center, which tells the body something's wrong. The heart races, digestion pauses, inflammation rises. These reactions were designed for survival, not daily living. When the alarm stays on too long, the body begins to wear down. Joints ache, metabolism slows, sleep becomes fragile. Chronic thought patterns become chronic conditions. But just as negativity reshapes biology, so does peace. When you practice gratitude, meditate, pray, or simply pause before reacting, the prefrontal cortex, the brain's calm decision-maker, takes charge. The amygdala quiets, heart rate slows, blood flow improves, and the immune system stabilizes. Repeated over time, this mental discipline rewires neural pathways, training your body to respond with grace rather than panic. The result is not just calm, it's biological resilience.
In medical studies, patients who cultivate positive outlooks recover faster from surgery, respond better to treatment, and live longer with chronic illness. Optimism doesn't erase hardship, it shifts the chemistry through which hardship is processed. The brain releases nitric oxide, expanding vessels and improving oxygen flow. The immune system releases anti-inflammatory cytokines instead of destructive ones. Hope becomes medicine. This isn't blind positivity, it's awareness, the ability to observe thoughts without becoming them. In long-lived cultures, this awareness often takes spiritual forms: meditation, prayer, reflection, quiet work. They all serve the same purpose: to slow the mind's chaos until the body remembers peace. When you slow thought, you slow aging, because both draw from the same well of energy. There's another layer to the mind-body connection: meaning. People who believe their life has purpose show lower levels of stress hormones and stronger immune markers. Purpose organizes the mind's chaos. It gives suffering context and effort direction. A sense of why becomes a powerful physiological stabilizer. It reduces inflammation and improves sleep quality. The body relaxes when the mind understands itself. The gut and brain, too, are constant partners in this dialogue. Gut bacteria produce neurotransmitters that shape mood, and the brain, through stress or peace, changes the gut's chemistry in return. When the mind worries, digestion falters. When the mind rests, the gut recovers. This loop explains why anxiety feels in the stomach and calm feels in the breath. It's one system, mirrored across two landscapes. Thoughts also influence how cells age. Telomeres, the protective ends of chromosomes, shorten faster under chronic mental strain. But when people practice compassion or gratitude, those same telomeres shorten more slowly. In essence, love, real, quiet, unconditional love, leaves a measurable mark on longevity. It slows the physical erosion of time. The mind doesn't just react to the body, it leads it. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you rewrite chemistry. Every time you turn fear into patience, you extend the body's capacity to heal. Over decades, those choices shape your health as much as food or sleep ever could. Your body is listening all the time, to your tone, to your thoughts, to your intentions. Speak to it gently, and it will answer with energy. Flood it with fear, and it will contract. The conversation never stops. The only question is whether you want to keep sending messages of alarm or messages of harmony. And once harmony begins to form between mind and body, another nourishment becomes essential, one that doesn't come from food, medicine, or meditation, but from people. To understand how connection itself sustains life, we move next to social nutrition, and how love, friendship, and belonging can extend years more effectively than any vitamin ever could. Human beings are built to live in groups, not in isolation. Long before medicine, vitamins, or hospitals, survival depended on belonging, on the web of care that connected one person to another. That instinct never disappeared, it simply changed form. Connection remains one of the strongest predictors of long life, and loneliness one of the quietest killers. When you feel loved, your biology shifts. The brain releases oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, the chemistry of trust and safety. Blood pressure drops, inflammation cools, and the immune system strengthens. A hug, a laugh, a shared meal all send the same molecular message: you are safe. In that safety, the body heals.
Loneliness, however, triggers the opposite cascade. The nervous system interprets isolation as threat. Cortisol rises, sleep weakens, arteries stiffen, and even genes that control immunity change their expression, preparing for danger that never comes. Modern science calls this social stress, but ancient cultures simply called it sorrow. The body can endure hunger or cold longer than it can endure emotional disconnection. In long-lived communities, no one eats alone. Meals stretch into conversations. Elders are honored, not hidden. Children grow surrounded by many hands. This network acts like a living medicine, each interaction replenishing what solitude drains. People there rarely retire from life. They remain needed, useful, loved. Purpose is social, not individual, and that shared purpose slows aging more effectively than any supplement. Friendship does more than lift mood. It stabilizes hormones, strengthens the heart, and even improves digestion. Laughter massages the vagus nerve, lowering blood pressure. Talking through pain rewires the brain's response to stress. Helping others floods the body with dopamine and oxytocin, calming inflammation. Every small act of connection lengthens life in invisible increments. But connection isn't measured by numbers, it's measured by depth. A few genuine relationships sustain you more than dozens of shallow ones. The nervous system only recognizes real presence, eye contact, tone, touch, empathy. That's why a quiet walk with someone you trust can lower stress more than 1,000 social media likes. To nurture social nutrition, you must feed it like any other need. Call a friend instead of scrolling. Share meals. Listen without agenda. Express gratitude often. These gestures tell your biology that the tribe still exists, that you belong, that you are safe enough to repair. Longevity hides inside these small exchanges. Connection doesn't just add joy to life, it adds years. The heart beats longer when it beats for someone else. And when these outer connections are in place, the inner ones awaken too. The relationship between body and environment, between what harms and what heals. To see how cleansing the inner world sustains this harmony, we move next into toxins, time, and cellular cleanup, where the body's hidden housekeeping reveals the power of renewal. Across the globe, there are a handful of small regions where people live far longer than average, places where age seems to move more slowly and death arrives gently, not as tragedy, but as completion. These are the blue zones: Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Ikaria in Greece, Nicoya in Costa Rica, and Loma Linda in California. Though scattered across oceans and cultures, they share an unseen rhythm, a pattern of living that keeps the body and spirit young. At first glance, nothing seems extraordinary. Their diets are simple, their homes modest, their days unhurried. But beneath that simplicity lies a quiet intelligence, a life designed around connection, movement, purpose, and balance. The lesson of the blue zones is not what they have that others don't, it's what they don't have: excess, isolation, rush. In Okinawa, people speak of ikigai, a reason to wake up each morning. It might be tending a garden, caring for grandchildren, or cooking for friends. Purpose, they believe, is oxygen for the soul. Their meals are small and colorful: tofu, sweet potatoes, miso soup, vegetables, tea. They eat slowly, stop before fullness, and often share food with neighbors. Community is not an event, It's a lifestyle. In Sardinia, longevity weaves through laughter and labor. Shepherds walk steep hills daily, their hearts strengthened by both effort and joy. Wine is sipped slowly, always with company. Elders remain central to family life, holding stories and wisdom that bind generations. No one is left behind, and that belonging nourishes them as deeply as food. Icaria, Greece, is a place where time loosens its grip. People nap in the afternoon, dance at night, and eat homegrown vegetables, herbs, and olive oil. Stress has no foothold because life itself is rhythmic. Effort and rest flow like tides. They live with ease, not idleness. Evenings fill with music and laughter, and sleep comes naturally, not as an escape, but as continuation. In Nicoya, Costa Rica, the people speak of a plan de vida, a life plan, not a career plan. They rise early, eat beans, corn, and tropical fruit, walk everywhere, and stay connected to their families well into old age. Their water, rich in calcium and magnesium, strengthens bones. But what truly sustains them is joy. Life there feels lighter, laughter echoes longer. Loma Linda, in California, stands apart as the only blue zone shaped by faith. The community of Seventh-day Adventists practice plant-based eating, Sabbath rest, and regular service. Their spirituality is woven with science, prayer, exercise, and community meals. They live up to a decade longer than average Americans, not through miracles, but through meaning. Across all these places, the blueprint is strikingly consistent. People move naturally, walking, gardening, working with their hands. They eat mostly plants in moderation. They rest deeply and often. They have strong social bonds, and they wake each day with purpose. No one chases youth or health, they simply live in ways that make health inevitable. Modern science confirms what these communities live intuitively. Longevity is not a single factor, but an ecosystem. Diet affects mood, mood affects sleep, sleep affects movement, movement affects connection. Each element supports the next, forming a circle that renews itself. Perhaps the most overlooked part of this blueprint is joy. In every blue zone, joy is communal, shared through laughter, music, food, faith. They celebrate often, not for special occasions, but for being alive. That joy lowers stress hormones, boosts immunity, and keeps the nervous system supple. Their secret is not avoiding aging, it's aging together, joyfully. The world chases longevity through products and protocols, yet the blueprint has been hiding in plain sight, in how we eat, walk, love, and belong. To live long is not to extend life unnaturally, but to align with nature and others. But even in these peaceful communities, one element of longevity remains deeply biological: the body's internal ability to cleanse and repair itself. Beneath their calm routines, something microscopic is always at work: the slow, constant renewal of cells. To uncover this hidden mechanism of renewal, we move next to toxins, time, and cellular cleanup, where the body's silent housekeeping reveals why aging slows when we let it breathe. Inside your body, every second, millions of tiny reactions create energy, repair tissue, and keep you alive. But these same processes leave behind microscopic waste: damaged proteins, old cells, chemical residue. If not cleared, this debris slowly clogs the system, dulling your energy and accelerating aging. Longevity is not only about nourishment, It's also about cleaning. The body's survival depends on its ability to sweep, recycle, and renew itself. The invisible enemy here is inflammation. In small bursts, it's a friend, part of healing. When you cut your hand, inflammation brings immune cells to repair it. But when it lingers, fueled by stress, pollution, poor diet, or lack of sleep, it turns into slow internal fire. This chronic inflammation burns silently, eroding tissues, stiffening arteries, confusing hormones, and exhausting the immune system. It doesn't cause one disease, it invites them all. Your body, though, isn't defenseless. Deep within every cell lies a remarkable process called autophagy, literally self-eating. It's your body's housekeeping service, dismantling broken cell parts and reusing them for fuel. Think of it as biological recycling. When cells sense scarcity, they become efficient, consuming waste instead of accumulating it. This is one of nature's greatest tricks, the paradox that sometimes healing begins not from addition, but from absence. Fasting, in its simplest form, activates this process. When you go without food for several hours, insulin levels drop, stress on digestion eases, and the body shifts from storage to repair. Old proteins are dismantled, mitochondria renew, inflammation cools. The system takes a breath. This isn't starvation, it's restoration. Long-lived cultures, often without realizing it, have practiced this for centuries. Early dinners, long nights of rest, modest meals, each create space for autophagy to work. But in the modern world, that space rarely exists. Constant eating keeps insulin high, blocking autophagy. Late-night snacks interrupt repair. Processed food floods the body with toxins faster than it can clear them. Add stress, pollution, and sleeplessness, and the body's cleaning crew never catches up. You can feel it as sluggishness, fog, or premature fatigue, the physical weight of unfinished repair. Inside your body, every second, millions of tiny reactions create energy, repair tissue, and keep you alive. But these same processes leave behind microscopic waste, damaged proteins, old cells, chemical residue. If not cleared, this debris slowly clogs the system, dulling your energy and accelerating aging. Longevity is not only about nourishment, it's also about cleaning. The body's survival depends on its ability to sweep, recycle, and renew itself. The invisible enemy here is inflammation. In small bursts, it's a friend, part of healing. When you cut your hand, inflammation brings immune cells to repair it. But when it lingers, fueled by stress, pollution, poor diet, or lack of sleep, it turns into slow internal fire. This chronic inflammation burns silently, eroding tissues, stiffening arteries, confusing hormones, and exhausting the immune system. It doesn't cause one disease, it invites them all. Your body, though, isn't defenseless. Deep within every cell lies a remarkable process called autophagy, literally self-eating. It's your body's housekeeping service, dismantling broken cell parts and reusing them for fuel. Think of it as biological recycling. When cells sense scarcity, they become efficient, consuming waste instead of accumulating it. This is one of nature's greatest tricks, the paradox that sometimes healing begins not from addition, but from absence. Fasting, in its simplest form, activates this process. When you go without food for several hours, insulin levels drop, Stress on digestion eases, and the body shifts from storage to repair. Old proteins are dismantled, mitochondria renew, inflammation cools. The system takes a breath. This isn't starvation, it's restoration. Long-lived cultures, often without realizing it, have practiced this for centuries. Early dinners, long nights of rest, modest meals, each create space for autophagy to work. But in the modern world, that space rarely exists. Constant eating keeps insulin high, blocking autophagy. Late-night snacks interrupt repair. Processed food floods the body with toxins faster than it can clear them. Add stress, pollution, and sleeplessness, and the body's cleaning crew never catches up. You can feel it as sluggishness, fog, or premature fatigue, the physical weight of unfinished repair. The liver, kidneys, lymphatic system, and skin are your natural detox organs. They don't need elaborate cleanses or expensive supplements. They need rest and rhythm. When you eat real food, drink water, move daily, and sleep deeply, these organs perform miracles on their own. The modern myth is that detox requires force. The truth is that it requires patience. Inflammation, too, can be soothed by simplicity. Fresh vegetables, olive oil, turmeric, ginger, green tea, these foods don't fight disease directly. They create an environment where the body can fight for itself. Equally important is emotional calm. Every spike of anger or anxiety floods your system with inflammatory signals. Peace is anti-inflammatory. Autophagy reminds us that the body's design is self-sufficient. When you stop flooding it with excess, it begins to heal itself. A short fast, a skipped snack, or a long night's rest can repair more than supplements ever could. Even mild calorie reduction, practiced regularly, has been shown to slow cellular aging by reducing oxidative stress, the rust of life. Nature demonstrates this rhythm everywhere. Trees shed leaves, animals hibernate, tides recede, all forms of strategic pause. The body follows the same pattern. Without periods of stillness, growth becomes decay. Yet the goal is not endless fasting or self-denial. Balance is the key. Too little nourishment and the body loses strength. Too much and it loses clarity. Longevity lies in the middle. Cycles of nourishment and renewal. Eat, move, rest, fast, not as rules, but as rhythms. Think of your body as a house you live in for a lifetime. Every day dust gathers, thoughts, toxins, emotions, residues. Most people keep decorating the house without ever cleaning it. Autophagy is the sweeping, the repair, the quiet maintenance that prevents collapse. It's not glamorous, but it's sacred. And when the inner house is clean, energy flows freely again. The mind sharpens, skin brightens, mood steadies. Aging slows because the body finally has space to breathe. This is why many long-lived people eat less, move often, and rest deeply. They live in constant renewal. Their bodies are not burdened by excess, but refreshed by rhythm. But in modern times, this rhythm faces a subtle threat, an obsession with control. The desire to perfect health, to hack longevity, can itself become toxic. To understand this paradox, how the pursuit of eternal youth can quietly shorten the very life it seeks to extend, we move next into the modern longevity trap, where balance gives way to obsession and wellness begins to backfire. In our age of wellness apps, detox plans, and health optimization, longevity has become another competition. We track every step, count every calorie, measure every heartbeat, and yet, despite all this precision, we often feel more anxious, more tired, and less alive than ever. The pursuit of perfect health, once a noble goal, has quietly turned into its opposite, a source of stress, guilt, and fear. This is the modern longevity trap, chasing life so intensely that we forget to live it. The body doesn't thrive under obsession, it thrives under rhythm. But today's world treats health like a project that's never finished, an endless checklist of supplements, lab tests, and self-improvement rituals. Every meal becomes a question of macros, every symptom a sign of failure. The mind, caught in vigilance, keeps the body in a state of alertness. Stress hormones rise, sleep shortens, digestion suffers. Ironically, the very behaviors meant to extend life begin to shorten it. True longevity is quiet, obsession is noisy. Long-lived cultures rarely talk about health, they live it. They walk, garden, cook, laugh, and rest. They don't measure wellness, they embody it. In contrast, modern life has turned vitality into a performance. The watch on your wrist tells you how well you slept, even if you woke feeling fine. The algorithm decides what healthy means today. Numbers replace intuition. The trap is subtle because it feels productive. Tracking health gives a sense of control in a chaotic world, but control and calm cannot coexist. The more we monitor, the less we trust our body's wisdom. This mistrust keeps the nervous system in low-grade tension, the very state that accelerates aging. The body that's always being watched forgets how to relax. Wellness industries exploit this fear skillfully. They promise mastery over time, biohacking, anti-aging formulas, miracle diets. But longevity isn't something to conquer, it's something to cooperate with. The more we chase perfection, the further we drift from harmony. Our ancestors lived long not because they optimized, but because they aligned with nature, with community, with simplicity. The truth is, your body already knows how to heal. It needs nourishment, rest, sunlight, movement, and peace. It doesn't need to be managed like a machine. When every meal becomes a calculation and every routine a test, joy disappears. And joy, as research shows, is one of the strongest predictors of long life. The healthiest people on earth don't pursue longevity, they pursue meaning. Longevity follows. There's a biological reason obsession backfires. Chronic self-monitoring triggers the same stress pathways as external threat. Cortisol rises, blood pressure tightens, and inflammation creeps in. The immune system begins to see normal fluctuations, hunger, fatigue, emotion, as problems to fix. Health anxiety becomes its own form of illness. Freedom begins when you stop measuring and start listening. Eat when you're hungry, rest when you're tired, move when your body asks to move. The rhythm is already inside you. Health doesn't need perfection, it needs permission. Long life is not built by control, it's built by trust. Trust that your body remembers how to repair. Trust that rest is productive. Trust that simplicity works. The oldest people on earth didn't count antioxidants, they counted blessings. And as we release the need to control, we discover a deeper truth. Longevity is not just surviving longer, it's aging gracefully. To understand what that grace truly means, we now move into the psychology of aging gracefully, where acceptance, perspective, and purpose turn the passing of time into an art rather than a loss. Redefining what it means to grow older. Growing older is something most of us fear quietly, even when we don't admit it. We are taught from a young age that youth is power, that wrinkles are warnings, that slowing down is defeat. Our culture glorifies beginnings and hides endings, as though decline were shameful, not natural. Yet when you look closely at people who age with peace, truly age, not just survive, you begin to see something extraordinary. Their strength doesn't come from resisting time, but from befriending it. They have stopped chasing eternal youth and begun learning the deeper language of life: acceptance, curiosity, and gratitude. The psychology of aging gracefully is not about pretending age doesn't matter. It's about changing what it means. It's about realizing that growing older isn't a loss of potential, it's an expansion of perspective. Each passing year doesn't take life away from you. It adds layers of understanding, humility, and depth. Aging, when seen clearly, is less about decay and more about transformation. When we're young, we measure life by accumulation, more experiences, more ambitions, more success. But as the decades unfold, something subtle shifts. The mind begins to crave not addition, but clarity. You stop wanting more of everything and start wanting enough of the right things. You realize that time is not a threat, but a teacher. That every year lived well is a message to the body and soul. You've made it this far, and there's still more to see. Yet many people never make peace with this shift. They spend midlife fighting mirrors, comparing timelines, or measuring worth in the language of youth. The irony is that resistance accelerates the very stress that ages us. Constant dissatisfaction floods the body with cortisol and anxiety. The mind becomes trapped in the illusion that vitality belongs only to the young. But vitality is not an age, it's an attitude. It's how softly you treat yourself in transition. In communities where people live well into their 90s and beyond, you rarely hear complaints about getting old. Aging there is not a decline, it's a role. Elders become anchors of wisdom, storytellers, keepers of rhythm. They remain curious, playful, and socially engaged. They don't retire from life, they deepen into it. The psychology behind their longevity is built on belonging, the sense that growing older means growing into something, not away from it. Western culture, however, often isolates the elderly. Retirement becomes exile. Productivity defines worth, so when work ends, many feel invisible. This loneliness is not just emotional, it's biological. Studies show that isolation increases inflammation and weakens the immune system more than smoking or obesity. The body, sensing disconnection, begins to deteriorate faster. But where community exists, the opposite happens. Being needed, being loved, being part of something larger slows the very chemistry of aging. The graceful ages of the world share certain mental habits. They practice acceptance, not passive resignation, but active peace with change. They understand that time always asks for trade-offs: strength for wisdom, speed for steadiness, novelty for meaning. Acceptance prevents the mind from wasting energy on what cannot be controlled. That saved energy becomes serenity. They also practice curiosity. Many people stop learning after youth, but curiosity keeps the mind elastic. It fuels neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections. Reading, listening, gardening, painting, traveling, volunteering, all these stimulate new circuits. Every time you learn something new, you remind your brain that you are still alive, still capable of growth. Stagnation, not time, is what makes the mind old. Another key is self-compassion. The way you speak to yourself determines how gently you age. Harsh self-criticism floods the body with stress hormones. Kindness, on the other hand, relaxes the nervous system and keeps the parasympathetic, the repair mode, active. When you look in the mirror and greet yourself with warmth rather than judgment, you extend life in a small but measurable way. The body hears kindness as safety. In psychology, there's a term called positive reframing. It means interpreting inevitable events in ways that nourish growth instead of despair. Aging gracefully depends on this ability. A wrinkle becomes proof of laughter, not loss. A slower pace becomes mindfulness, not weakness. Every limitation is an invitation to discover a new strength. Perspective, not youth, is the real fountain of vitality. The truth is, your perception of aging shapes how your body experiences it. In one long-term study, people who viewed aging as natural and valuable lived an average of 7 years longer than those who saw it as decline, even when their health habits were similar. Mindset literally rewrote their biology. Their stress responses were milder, their recovery faster, their inflammation lower. The brain's chemistry followed belief. Graceful aging also means redefining beauty. Our society worships smoothness, skin without lines, stories without scars. But a face that's lived carries its own radiance. It's the light of endurance, of having known joy and grief and still choosing gratitude. Beauty at 60 or 80 isn't youth preserved, it's life revealed. When you stop apologizing for growing older, your posture changes, your energy softens, and you begin to glow in a different spectrum, one made of experience. Purpose plays its part too. Without purpose, age feels heavy. With purpose, it feels sacred. The body doesn't give up because of years. It gives up when the mind stops giving it reasons to move. That's why elders in blue zones wake early to garden, teach, or mentor. Purpose keeps biochemical rhythms alive. Dopamine continues to flow. Muscles stay responsive. A reason to live becomes the deepest medicine. And with purpose comes gratitude. Gratitude rewires the emotional brain to notice abundance instead of absence. It quiets anxiety, lowers blood pressure, strengthens immunity, and increases resilience. Grateful people don't deny loss, they contextualize it. They understand that aging means more endings, yes, but also more appreciation for beginnings. Every sunrise is rarer, every breath a little more precious. Perhaps the most profound aspect of aging gracefully is learning to let go, not just of things, but of identities. You release the need to prove, to compete, to impress. You learn to savor simplicity, a good meal, a shared silence, the warmth of sunlight. Letting go doesn't make life smaller, it makes it lighter. You start carrying experience instead of expectation. Psychologically, this process is called ego transcendence. It means the self stops being the center of the story. Elders who reach this stage often radiate peace. They're less reactive, more forgiving. Their happiness no longer depends on circumstance. This detachment from drama stabilizes the nervous system, lowers stress, and even improves heart variability, a key marker of longevity. In short, spiritual maturity becomes biological advantage. Graceful aging also requires play. Play keeps the spirit young. Laughter releases endorphins, loosens tension, and connects people instantly. In places where laughter is daily, where neighbors tease, sing, dance, Life expectancy rises. Joy is circulation for the soul. The mind that knows how to play never calcifies. The modern obsession with anti-aging reverses this wisdom. It sells fear disguised as hope, promising eternal youth while deepening anxiety. True anti-aging is not resistance, it's renewal. It's learning to adapt, to evolve emotionally as the body changes physically. The goal isn't to stay 20 forever, but to be fully alive at every age. This requires a redefinition of success. In youth, success is expansion, careers, possessions, recognition. In later life, success becomes distillation, peace, presence, contribution. The question changes from how much can I get to how deeply can I give. This transition isn't loss, it's liberation. Acceptance of mortality is the final psychological milestone of graceful aging. Avoiding death keeps us fearful. Acknowledging it keeps us awake. When you remember that time is finite, priorities become clear. You begin to live deliberately, not accidentally. Gratitude replaces panic. This awareness, paradoxically, makes people live longer, not because death is postponed, but because life is fully inhabited. Aging gracefully doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending to love every change. It means facing each change without bitterness. It's the art of saying yes to reality. The body wrinkles, the spirit unfolds. Energy may lessen, but peace expands. When you see life as circular rather than linear, aging becomes return, not decline, but completion. You can witness this serenity in the eyes of the elderly who've made peace with impermanence. Their calm is not weakness, it's wisdom embodied. The understanding that all things bloom, fade, and bloom again in different forms. That nothing truly ends, it just transforms. Growing older, then, is not about counting years, but learning a rhythm, when to hold on, when to release, when to rest. Each decade teaches a new pace. If you listen, you find the tempo that fits your season. The young sprint, the wise stroll, and in that slower pace, the world looks clearer, kinder, more detailed. Psychologists studying centenarians often note one trait above all: optimism. But it's not naive optimism, it's resilient optimism, rooted in perspective. They've seen storms, and they trust the sun will return. That faith in renewal stabilizes the mind and softens the body. They live in long arcs of patience. Ultimately, aging gracefully is about integration, uniting body, mind, and spirit into one rhythm of acceptance. When you stop dividing life into young and old, beginning and end, you discover a timeless middle where peace resides. That's where real longevity lives. So redefine aging. Let it mean ripening, not rotting. Let it mean becoming softer, not weaker. Let it mean exchanging speed for depth, ambition for wisdom, and fear for freedom. Each wrinkle is a signature of experience, each grey hair a strand of memory. The face that time shapes is not a mask of loss, it's the map of your becoming. And when that realization finally settles, you'll see aging for what it truly is, not the story of endings, but the masterpiece of continuation. Next, we step from this inner acceptance into the outer design of long life, how meaning, creativity, and curiosity shape the purpose that keeps both mind and body alive. The next chapter unfolds through designing a life worth extending, where purpose becomes the purest form of vitality. Purpose, curiosity, and the emotional fuel of longevity. When people talk about living longer, they often mean adding years to the calendar. But the real question, the one that decides whether longevity is a gift or a burden, is what are you living for? Life without meaning may last, but it does not expand. The body can survive without meaning, but it cannot truly thrive. To design a life worth extending is to give every extra year a reason to exist. Purpose is not something we find once, it's something we continuously create. It evolves with us. In youth, it might look like ambition or discovery. In midlife, it might shift toward family or contribution. In older age, it often becomes mentorship, gratitude, or quiet reflection. People who live the longest don't chase purpose as a trophy, they live inside it. It's woven into their days, not written in their goals. In every blue zone, this invisible thread runs strong. In Okinawa, they call it ikigai, the reason to wake up each morning. In Nicoya, it's plan de vida, a plan for living, not just surviving. Both are simple phrases for something profound, an alignment between what you do and why you do it. When life feels meaningful, biology follows. The heart beats with steadier rhythm, the immune system stays alert, and the nervous system stays calm. Purpose is chemistry as much as philosophy. People who live with purpose have lower stress hormones, better sleep, and stronger immunity. Their bodies interpret meaning as safety, the opposite of chronic stress. Even in hardship, their systems recover faster because the mind sends a message of direction. There's still something ahead worth walking toward. The power of curiosity works in the same way. Curiosity keeps the brain young. It pulls you toward learning, discovery, and connection. When you're curious, your brain releases dopamine, a spark of motivation that sharpens focus and lifts mood. It's the chemical of engagement. The curious mind never hardens into cynicism. It stays elastic, forming new neural pathways. This flexibility slows cognitive aging more effectively than any supplement. You can see it in elders who still ask questions, who still wonder how things work, who never stop reading, experimenting, or teaching. Their minds don't retire because curiosity refuses to settle. They may walk slower, but their thoughts still sprint. That alertness of spirit is what keeps their cells listening, their brains rewiring, and their days purposeful. The emotional fuel of longevity, then, is not intensity, but aliveness. It's the feeling of being connected to something larger: family, faith, art, service, or beauty. It's the subtle sense that you are still needed, that your story is not finished. In a world that often measures worth by productivity, this emotional nourishment becomes rare, yet it is the foundation of health. The body responds to meaning the way flowers respond to light. Without purpose, even comfort can feel empty. Without curiosity, even success becomes dull. That emptiness weighs on biology. Depression, loneliness, and apathy increase inflammation, weaken the immune system, and shorten lifespan. The heart, when it stops caring, begins to close physically. Arteries constrict. Pressure rises. Meaning, then, is not abstract. It's measurable, physiological. Designing a life worth extending means building habits that feed meaning. It means surrounding yourself with reminders of why you exist.
not all purpose is grand. Sometimes it's as simple as tending a garden, caring for someone, creating something beautiful, or learning something new. These small acts build emotional momentum, a quiet satisfaction that tells the body you're still in motion. Curiosity also connects you to the future. People with long lives rarely live in nostalgia. They live in anticipation. They still look forward to next season's harvest, next visit, next sunrise. The future, even a small one, keeps the will to live intact. Neuroscientists call this dopaminergic resilience, the ability to keep producing hope. Designing such a life also involves rhythm. Purpose is not a project you force, it's a pulse you maintain. It needs work and rest, focus and flow. Overworking for meaning can empty it. True purpose grows in balance, action followed by reflection, giving followed by receiving. The most fulfilled elders are those who mastered this gentle oscillation. They contribute, then they replenish. They know how to pause without feeling useless. Another secret lies in belonging. Purpose rarely exists in isolation. You discover who you are by what you give to others. The longest living people stay embedded in community, teaching, guiding, caring. Their purpose is shared, not solitary. The human brain is wired for connection. Social contribution activates reward centers more than personal achievement. Every act of service extends the giver's life as much as the receiver's. And yet, meaning doesn't always feel joyful. Sometimes purpose hurts, in caregiving, grief, or sacrifice. But even that pain gives structure to time. Suffering with meaning doesn't damage you the way suffering without it does. It activates resilience instead of despair. That's why people who endure hardship for a reason often emerge stronger, not weaker. The body interprets purposeful struggle as growth, not danger. To design a life worth extending, you must design one worth remembering. That means investing in relationships more than possessions, experiences more than appearances. Time has a strange rule. The more you fill it with depth, the slower it feels. That's why meaningful days seem longer and forgettable ones blur. A rich life feels like a long one even before you measure years. Psychologically, purpose acts as an internal compass. It organizes chaos and restores control. Even when health declines, it gives you something unbreakable: direction. Elderly people who lose purpose often lose health soon after, while those who hold a clear sense of why recover faster from illness. Their bodies respond to meaning like a signal: stay alive, there's work left to do. Curiosity and purpose also protect against cognitive decline. Engaging in art, conversation, or learning creates new synaptic connections, neural detours around aging slow erosion. The brain, much like muscle, strengthens through use, but it must be used with joy, not pressure. Curiosity is a form of love, a willingness to keep meeting life with wonder. That love, repeated daily, leaves traces in your physiology. Emotionally, designing a life worth extending means softening your expectations. You stop trying to control outcomes and start participating in process. You live not to arrive, but to experience. That shift from achievement to presence quiets anxiety and reopens gratitude. Gratitude, in turn, becomes a natural antidepressant, nourishing both heart and immune system. Purpose doesn't require grand gestures, it needs continuity. A daily walk, a morning journal, a conversation with someone lonely. These are micro-purposes. They build the foundation for macro meaning. Longevity isn't about one extraordinary act, it's about thousands of ordinary ones done with awareness. The trap of modern life is that we confuse distraction for engagement. The world offers endless noise but little nourishment. Designing a meaningful life requires filtering that noise, choosing what deserves your attention. Attention is life's currency. Where you spend it determines what grows. Direct it towards curiosity, connection, and creation, and the years expand. The emotional landscape of long life is not constant happiness, but steady contentment. People who age well have learned emotional flexibility. They allow sadness, celebrate joy, forgive often. They don't resist feeling, they metabolize it. This emotional metabolism prevents bitterness, which is one of the most corrosive forms of aging. To stay soft is to stay young. Spirituality often enters the picture here, though not necessarily religion. A sense of awe, whether through nature, art, or faith, deepens meaning. It reminds you that you're part of something larger. This humility doesn't make you smaller, it makes your problems smaller. The nervous system calms, inflammation drops, breath deepens. Wonder, like gratitude, is a form of physiological rest. A life worth extending is a life that feels coherent. Coherence means that your values, actions, and emotions move in the same direction. It's the difference between running efficiently and running endlessly. When what you do aligns with who you are, energy becomes renewable. The body no longer fights the mind. So how do you begin designing this kind of life? Start by asking 3 questions. What makes me lose track of time? What makes me feel useful to others? And what would I still love doing if no one noticed? The answers may not come immediately. They change with seasons. But each answer points toward a version of you that feels most alive. Build around that. Align your schedule, your relationships, your rest, all of it, with what gives meaning. A life worth extending is not built on self-optimization, but self-understanding. It grows from attention to small joys, curiosity about new ones, and compassion for the self in transition. It's not measured by how much you do, but how deeply you experience what you do. The irony of longevity is that those who most deserve long lives rarely chase them. They're too busy living fully in the moment. They don't ask for more years, they simply make each one worth keeping. And when all of this purpose, curiosity, connection, gratitude flows together, time itself changes character. Years feel like chapters, not countdowns. The fear of aging softens, replaced by the satisfaction of participation. You are no longer trying to escape time, you are walking with it. That, ultimately, is the art of designing a life worth extending. Living each day in such harmony that if time stopped tomorrow, you'd still feel complete. Because when the mind finds meaning, the body follows, and longevity ceases to be about numbers at all. It becomes about depth. And in that depth lies the quiet secret of all long life, that the body, the mind, and the heart only continue when they have something to live for. Next, we arrive at the final reflection, the quiet art of staying alive, where we gather everything learned into one simple truth, that longevity is not about resisting death, but about truly learning how to live. What it truly means to live long and deeply. There comes a moment in every long life when the pursuit of more years fades, and what remains is the wish to live them well. Not perfectly, not endlessly, just well, with depth, clarity, and peace. This is the quiet art of staying alive. Longevity in its truest form isn't about outrunning time, it's about walking beside it. It's the wisdom to match your pace with the seasons, to know when to move and when silence is the better language. The healthiest people in the world have mastered this balance, not through discipline alone, but through harmony, an unspoken agreement with life itself. Most of what we call living long is really about staying open to change, to loss, to wonder. The body grows older, the heart stays curious. The world shrinks for those who close themselves off, but expands endlessly for those who keep learning. Graceful longevity is curiosity sustained over decades, the willingness to keep saying yes to life, even after it has disappointed you. To stay alive in this deeper sense means noticing how sunlight warms the hands, how breath feels in the chest, how even ordinary moments carry something sacred. The oldest people, when asked their secret, often smile and answer with simple words, "I wake up happy for another day." It sounds small, but it's not. Gratitude is the quiet engine of survival. In youth, we live by speed, in age, by rhythm. A long life isn't a race extended, it's a song lengthened. The pauses become as meaningful as the notes. When you live slowly enough to hear your own heartbeat, you realize how much of life you once rushed past. Longevity is not found in doing more, it's found in feeling more fully what you already do. There's a story from Japan about a woman named Misao Okawa, who lived to be 117. When journalists asked for her secret, she said, "Eating something delicious and sleeping well." They laughed, expecting wisdom, but she had given it. To sleep peacefully and find joy in nourishment is to stay in touch with life's simplest pleasures, the only ones that never lose their flavor. Living long and deeply also means making peace with impermanence. Everything you love will change, including you. The graceful heart doesn't fight this truth, it learns to love within it. Acceptance doesn't mean indifference, it means recognizing that the fragility of life is its beauty. The leaf's color matters because it will fall. The day glows because it will end. Fear of death shortens life long before death arrives. When you stop treating mortality as an intruder, you start living without the constant background hum of anxiety. You taste food more clearly, listen more carefully, forgive more easily. You start to see that time is not an enemy chasing you, it's the companion that measures the depth of your attention. The art of staying alive begins in attention and matures in gratitude, but it reaches mastery in simplicity. Long-lived cultures share this instinct. Their homes are modest, their meals unadorned, their days repetitive in the best way. Simplicity gives the mind space to rest. It eliminates noise until only the essential remains: love, work, rest, joy. In that uncluttered space, energy flows without friction. Biologically, the body thrives on rhythm, not excess. Psychologically, the soul thrives on meaning, not ambition. Together, they form the two halves of health. When you feed both, when you care for the body and nurture the mind, longevity becomes natural. The mistake of modern life is to nourish one and neglect the other. You can eat perfectly, exercise daily, and still feel hollow if your days lack connection or purpose. The quiet art of staying alive asks you to practice alignment, to let your actions mirror your values, to make your external life resemble your internal truth. A misaligned life drains vitality faster than disease. But when who you are, what you do, and what you believe move in the same direction, the body relaxes, hormones stabilize, the heart beats more easily. Peace becomes chemistry. In these final reflections, every truth we've explored circles back. Food, movement, rest, connection, purpose. All of them converge here. Each one supports the others, creating an ecosystem of well-being. When that system functions in harmony, aging becomes not a decline, but a refinement. The roughness of early years smooths into gentleness. You no longer seek to prove life's value, you simply live it. Staying alive, then, is less about resistance and more about cooperation. You cooperate with your body by listening to it. You cooperate with your environment by respecting it. You cooperate with time by moving in rhythm with its flow. Longevity is an act of partnership between you and life. There's a quiet dignity in those who age well. They don't cling to youth, yet they radiate it in another form, a brightness of presence. They've shed the layers of pretense that weigh people down. Their laughter comes quicker, their judgment slower. They don't fear vulnerability, they understand it's what connects us. If you ask them about regrets, they speak of missed love, not missed success. They remember faces, not numbers. This perspective doesn't come from philosophy classes, it comes from living long enough to see what remains when everything else fades. What remains is love, in all its forms: care, kindness, curiosity, forgiveness. Love is not a virtue here, it's longevity's most reliable fuel. The modern world confuses staying alive with staying productive. But productivity drains without replenishment. The real measure of a long life isn't how much you did, but how deeply you experienced what you did. Did you see the sunset, or were you too busy photographing it? Did you hold the hand offered to you, or were you scrolling past it? The body ages faster when the mind is elsewhere. Presence slows time. Presence, like muscle, strengthens with use. Each time you pause to breathe, to notice, to listen, you train yourself in the art of staying. Life then stretches. Hours feel fuller, days longer. You may not add years to your life, but you'll add life to your years, and that, paradoxically, is what often extends them. We are often taught that aging is loss of beauty, of strength, of relevance, but aging gracefully reveals the opposite. It's gain. Gain of insight, patience, authenticity. The older you become, the less you perform, and the more you are. The performance fades, the person emerges. That unveiling is the quiet miracle of time. To live long and deeply also means learning forgiveness, not as moral duty, but as emotional hygiene. Unforgiveness is poison stored in the heart. It seeps into the body through tension and bitterness. The act of forgiving is not weakness, it's the strongest anti-aging tool the psyche possesses. It clears space for joy. And joy, even in small doses, rejuvenates the whole system. Science shows that people who cultivate awe, the emotion of wonder before something vast, have lower inflammation, slower heart rates, and greater resilience. Awe pulls you out of self-concern and into connection. You realize that you are both tiny and infinite. To feel that daily through music, sky, silence, prayer, art, is to participate in something larger than biology. It's to join the flow of life rather than fight it. This understanding transforms longevity from strategy into philosophy. You stop asking, "How do I live longer?" and start asking, "How do I live wisely?" That shift changes everything. Wisdom protects more than supplements ever could. It makes peace with uncertainty, which is the essence of stress resilience. It trusts the unknown, and the body mirrors that trust with calm stability. Staying alive deeply means staying human in full, feeling, falling, forgiving. letting joy and grief coexist without cancelling each other out. When you allow life to pass through you instead of around you, it leaves its prints without its wounds. You carry memory, not pain. The elders who embody this calm often describe a kind of surrender, not to death, but to life as it is. They say, "I'm ready whenever it's time, but I still love being here." That sentence holds the secret of peace, readiness without resistance. The paradox of longevity is that the less you cling to life, the more it gently holds you. So, what does it truly mean to live long and deeply? It means waking each day aware of your fragility and still choosing to participate fully. It means laughing easily, resting when tired, eating gratefully, moving often, forgiving quickly. It means knowing that every heartbeat is both ordinary and miraculous. It means keeping curiosity alive until the very end, the curiosity to see what tomorrow might bring, what lesson still hides in the smallest of moments. For in curiosity there is youth, and in gratitude there is grace. The quiet art of staying alive asks nothing extravagant. It only asks that you notice, that you care, that you return again and again to the simple miracle of breath. It's not a secret taught by experts, but a rhythm whispered by existence itself. Inhale, exhale, begin again. When you understand that, aging ceases to frighten you. You stop fighting time and start dancing with it. The dance is slow, yes, but infinitely tender. Each step a thank you, each breath a continuation, and maybe that's what longevity really is, not the extension of days, but the expansion of awareness. When you live with awareness, even a short life feels long, and when awareness deepens enough, life never truly feels like it ends. So, as this journey closes, let it not end in instruction, but in invitation. Live gently, move often, rest deeply, love freely, and when you can, look up, at dawn, at dusk, at stars. You are not outside life looking in, you are the pulse within it. That is the quiet art of staying alive. That is what it truly means to live long and deeply.